2, 1.
Hello, welcome to the Wenger Morghulis Extra. Is that what it's called? It's been so long that I've forgotten what we normally call our recordings. And small group today is just Shyam and I, because we are the only two people that actually care about what's happening in FPL. Other people do too, but I think they care more about the team than they care more about their own teams than sharing knowledge. And I'll be honest, we haven't prepared much for this. We'll be freestyling most of it. Cham, Yuri have created wonderful spreadsheets with a lot of analytics, a lot of permutations, scenarios of who's going to make it into the playoffs, who's going to make it in, who's going to win the H2H championship, and also stake their claim for the purity title. So we'll look at all of those numbers. We look at our tables. We look at those permutations. We look at who's in the running for playoffs. We'll also look at the different teams, the actual football teams that are that have good fixtures coming up in the next 5 or 6 weeks. 5 or 6 game weeks. All is going to get wrapped up by July 26th, I think, right? But anyway, so we'll discuss all of this. My partner in crime, Shyam, to discuss the penultimate game week and the last game week before playoffs. What's up, Shyam?
Hello. Yeah, I think I don't think we're going to have more than 4 or 5 people watching this, so it's really just an excuse for us to chat. We have a lot of free time. I have a lot of free time being unemployed now, and I wish like Nikhil was on here as well, so we had the fun quotient. But that's fine. We'll keep it topical, if nothing else today.
Actually, in the past, Yuri and Viggy have also added fun quotients to our video series, but yeah, neither of them are doing very hot right now in the final few weeks. Any particular reasons? I mean, there's a good segue into the table itself. So let me sort it. By the way, this like courtesy Yuri, this table looks fantastic. Color coded and all, sorted automatically by H2H. Like, who would have thought that it's even in 2020, that's a very difficult task. And I'm very proud of these live scores, although it does break occasionally. I was able to bend a script to pull directly from FPL. Forewarning, do not ping the FPL servers. It's going to think that we are a bot that's with malicious intent, so they'll block us. So do not ping it constantly. Do not refresh the page once you've entered the spreadsheet. Instead, just enjoy these live fixtures over here. But going on to the table, yours truly has found himself very lucky to be at the top of the table after beginning Project Restart at number 4, I think, or 4 or 3. But that's all courtesy a couple of slip-ups by Nikhil and by Alhad, both of whom are now at 3 and 4, respectively. Raghav has had a phenomenal Project Restart, a few weeks since Project Restart. He's amassed on average close to 75 points per game week. That includes a 122-point haul in the first game week since the restart. So there's a lot of stuff happening in our table itself. As you can see, I'm at 57 points. I had a couple of lucky wins versus, I think Yuri was one very lucky win, because both of us, we ended up being number 1 and 2 for that particular game week in terms of scores. And yeah, so Raghav just 1 point behind, KP also just 1 point behind, and KP significantly behind on purity score. So Raghav trumps him over there, even if it's a tie. Alhad with 55, Phil obviously at 53. All of us still in contention with 2 games remaining. Every one of these 5 people can still be an H2H champion and the sole proprietor of $150.
Sole proprietor.
Oh, yeah, Sham, you know a lot about winning, a lot about a lot about taking our money. What do you think about about these battles, and like what strategies can each of us employ to make sure to cement our positions, or to make that final push for 35?
Get lucky. That's the only that's the main strategy. If you can get
It's
lucky in three,
it's not though. It's not though, because
no,
I remember very clearly
I mean
last
over a
year.
period of 2 weeks. I'm like over the season not as much, but over the period of 2 weeks, it's going to matter for sure right now.
Because you played it very well last year. I remember we had a three-way battle between you, me, and Yuri,
Yeah.
and right up until the last game week. And I think Yuri and I, we played each other in game week 32 or 31, and Yuri beat me, which propelled him to the top. But then he was playing you, and then he ended up losing two matches or something. But you were calm throughout that whole time. You were just waiting for the right opportunity. You were just waiting for us to slip up and then use your chips effectively for 35.
Yeah, but I did get lucky in that both of you somehow managed to throw it away, which I still don't believe how that happened. But yeah, but to that extent. But the biggest thing about since the restart, so you said Nikhil had what, a 5-6 point lead going into the restart? Is that right?
Yeah. I think he had a six
Yeah.
point lead over me, 5 point lead over Alhad.
Okay, so he had a 5 point lead gap and he's had a disaster of a restart, which has made things so much more exciting. So yay for that, I guess. Uh, yeah, so it's
He was the one. Remember when we were having these battles on WhatsApp about what should we do post restart?
yeah.
He was the one who almost claimed a victory and wanted us to award him the prize money because it was so obvious that he was going to win. And he also mentioned that, oh yeah, I'm going to play my wild card, I'm going to play my bench boost and triple captain. So victory is inevitable at this stage.
Yeah, but he was doing the smart move at that time of saying, "Can I get these people to pay me right now so that I don't have to go through this?" But yeah, I mean, of course, he's still in with a chance, but he's made things a lot more exciting right now. So
Yeah, and like not a big tangent, but there's a lot happening even for the playoff spots.
oh yeah,
Technically, all six of you highlighted Sham, Gaurang, Harshad, Yash, Marco, and Yuri. Technically, all six can still make it to the playoffs, and all of you are battling three positions: six, seven, and eight.
yeah. I actually think I think it's Phil is in that battle. He's only 1 point ahead of me and Gaurang. So I actually think it's from Phil to Marco. I
But
don't
Phil is out of reach for Yuri, though.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think Yuri's got a chance, to be honest. Like he needs three people to lose both their games, which is highly, highly unlikely. So yeah, theoretically maybe, but I think practically it's from the Phil to Marco's part is really where the battle is.
Phil to Marco. Maybe we can talk about what lies ahead for all these teams and the scenarios. Do you think we should do that first?
Uh, okay, fine. We can do that.
So Sham very graciously put together this beautiful scenario sheet. Sham, do you want to walk us through all these scenarios first, maybe for the playoff spot battle?
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's definitely not all scenarios. It's just some which I was thinking about because I was trying to think about my team and realized I have no idea what to do. So I started tinkering, and then since Vikas has been doing so much work on the videos, I thought I'll give him something as well.
That's
Uh,
very kind of you.
Videos which nobody watches. So anyway, so yeah, what I've done is just look at both things, the playoff battle and the H2H battle. So let's talk about the playoff battle first. And it's basically, I think there are 4 spots really up for grabs and 6 contenders, which is Phil, Garang, Harshad, Yash, Marco, and me. And I did some scenarios of what happens if you win both games, if you win only one game, and if you don't win any games. That's the green, orange, and red side. And what's really interesting, like the main takeaways for me here was one, that Phil really needs just one victory to guarantee it. Again, these are not all scenarios, but I think they're the most, those are ones I could think of. That's the best excuse I have. So, like, Phil needs one win out of the next two. And Marco has an outside chance. I mean, Marco definitely, if he wins both of his, he will definitely be in the playoffs. So even Marco has, it's under his control. And that's mainly because he's playing Yash.
Yep.
So that is the potential game. Like if Yash drops out, then he's got a good chance. And it's also not possible for both Harshad and me to win both our games because we play each other as well. So all the way from Phil to Marco, everybody's got a lot to say in what ends up happening in the next 2 weeks. Uh,
So if I'm understanding correctly, in most scenarios, Sham, you will go through unless you lose both your games. If
yes,
you win one game, you go through regardless.
yes. So I think the people who, if we win one game, we will go through are Phil, Gaurang, and me.
Right.
Okay, who are like almost definitely, as long as if we win one game, we will go through. Harshad in most scenarios, because of his superior purity score, he can also go through. Yash and Marco basically need 2 wins, but there are some scenarios in which Yash could get through with 1 win.
Right.
It's really more about who we are playing against. So if you look at this, there's really only Shannon who doesn't have anything to play for, and Yuri possibly. So only Shannon, and there's one wiki game. But the rest,
Right.
Harshad and I play each other right now already. Marco and Yash play each other. Yash and Phil play each other. So a lot of matches in within. And Gaurang, who doesn't play anybody in the playoff spots, but plays two of the title contenders. So it's really just yeah, balls to the wall time to try and make decisions. I think
And I think I th-
yeah, the chips left is a huge discussion in that. So what, like, it looks to me basically like whoever wants it badly enough and decides to use their chips will can get in. Okay, but I mean, the way, at least like for me personally, what I'm thinking about is what is the point of getting in if I don't have chips to play in the playoffs? Like that's the way
right.
I'm personally thinking. I'm like, it doesn't matter if I make it into round one, but get knocked out in round two, three of playoffs. So I'm thinking, I'm like, fuck it, whatever. I'm just going to try it, save chips for playoffs. If I don't make it, I don't make it. But yeah, so that's the way I'm
It's
thinking.
it's almost down to personal choice, right?
Yeah,
Which title do you care about the most? Do you care about the H2H slot, which is pretty much a guaranteed $150
yeah,
US dollars? Do you care about the FPL champion, which comes with a memento on the side as well?
with the
Do you
ashtray.
care about, and along with the $150 cash, or do you care about purity? It's almost, I think you've highlighted this in previous videos from yesteryears, that it's almost impossible for anyone to win the treble given the way our season is structured, right?
Yeah, the
So
interesting thing is you're the only person right now who has a chance at the treble, like legitimately has a chance at the treble. So that's pretty cool.
and I'm kind of humbled, but knowing how I screw up all these when I'm in the lead, I don't think I should be hopeful of anything like
Yeah,
that,
I'm pretty sure
because
I'm pretty sure you'll screw up, but I just want it to
thanks
be
for the
known
vote
that
of
you had
confidence.
a chance at the treble 2 weeks out of the playoffs. So let's see. Uh,
so so I think you bring up a very good point about the chips left. I see that obviously Yash has 3 chips left, which is a huge advantage, especially if he needs to win almost at least 1 or 2 matches to stake a claim. And you brought up a good point about, I think it's going to be a 3-way battle between Harshad, Yash, and Marco, for the last 2 playoff spots, or 1 playoff spot actually. Phil, Gaurang, and you, Sham, are quite have solid teams, and you have good fixtures in the next 2 weeks too. So I think it's a battle between Harshad, Yash, and Marco. And if you look at only solely from a chips perspective, Yash has the most number of options available. I think he also has his bench boost. He has his free hit available, so he can play either of those and make his way into the playoffs. But again, like you highlighted, what's the point of playing all your chips just to make it into the playoffs if you can't use them in the playoffs when you need them the
yeah.
most?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because even Gaurang, although I think, I mean, he's got a leg up, the challenge that Gaurang has, he's really low on purity score. So if it's a purity tie at any point, then he doesn't make
Is
it. And he's
is that
playing you and Nikhil.
so? Is that even a possibility? A tie
Yeah, it's possible. Like
in
in those scenarios, there are a few scenarios where if both, basically, if Gaurang and I both lose both of our games,
right
I would at least be ahead of Gaurang just on purity.
in
He's
purity?
up a 100 point gap. In,
Right. And we're not expecting a tie in purity points at this stage, are we? Because I don't think we've built out any scenarios for that. What is the second tiebreaker?
oh, it should
I think
be
it would be transfers out, yeah?
well. Normally, it's transfers out, but I think in our case, it should be the head-to-head battle, like in your bullies.
Fair enough.
I think we can look at that. It's
Actually, that's a really solid table. I refer to it all the time. So, for example, like in the example that Yuri highlighted, which actually, I mean, I have to say, Yuri had the foresight because he built this table prior to the game week fixture between KP and Bobby, which turned out to be a draw, which put us in a situation we are in right now. Because I mean, except for that, without that draw, we wouldn't have had such an exciting penultimate game week.
yeah,
But Bobby, ironically, so Bobby is sitting right at the bottom of the table, but he's playing.
yeah. He's still, as always, he's got a say in what happens to the rest of the. So now, yeah, coming to the head-to-head battle where he plays you and Alhad. Now,
Yep,
I mean, the only way Alhad wins the edge-to-edge battle is if he wins both and all three of you lose at least one. That's the only
one.
way he's going to win it. But it's a possibility, so I included that there. You're obviously, it's in your hands. If you win both games, then no question, you win.
No pressure.
Uh, and if you win only one game, then it's between Nikhil and Raghav, and they play each other in the last week. So that could be an awesome title decider final in game week 35. And again, so like, even what I love is that because it's so tight, if people really want to play for it, they'll use their chips and try to win things. If they don't, then they are saying, okay, I'm going to try and focus on the playoffs instead and give up on something. But who knows? So I think it's going to be fun to watch.
Same here, and I'm not trying to play mind tricks on anybody that's going to watch this video, but I honestly don't really feel very excited about the H2H title because one, it ends in game week 35. It doesn't give me the full season.
Oh, the mind games begin.
Yeah, no. So I don't really care about H2H. If it falls in my lap.
Hello, you haven't won anything in 8 years. Please care about everything. Try to win. Don't.
That is inaccurate, Shyam. I did win a winter championship 4 or 5 years ago, and the spreadsheet that Marco has.
Yeah, don't throw anything away.
No, but I mean I really don't care about the game week 35 end season end. So I don't really care about the H2S title, unless of course, I mean the number of UK just opened up for business, and if the cases spike, if the teams somehow catch COVID in the next 4 or 5 weeks, which that would mean that the Premier League is going to have to curtail the rest of the season and end it early, given that Liverpool's already won, given that
Yeah.
Norwich is pretty much out of the equation too. So they might even end the season early, in which case, I mean, even that is a very, very possible scenario where we just have to end purity at game week 35 or 36 and then completely scrap the playoffs because we just don't have enough winners,
Yeah.
enough games. So on, having said that, I'm not going for H2H. I'm going for the FPL Championship and Purity because of my love for Wenger. And wait, by the way, I mean, I don't think we've recognized and rewarded the term purity. I think Yuri coined it a couple of years ago, and now it's become common knowledge for everyone in the group, and nobody else knows what purity means.
For 14 people. Yay.
for 14 people, but but that's how movements start. A single moment makes a movement. But anyway, Sham, okay,
All right.
enough of the ridiculous chatter. But what do you think about Project Restart itself? Like, what were some of the highlights from a team's perspective? The not FPL teams, but from the Premier League itself, and who should we be picking from a player's point of view, team's point of view, and also the fixtures. And good segue. I'll also present the upcoming fixtures from game week 34 until 38 on the table.
Yeah, I'm just delighted to have football back, and especially when I'm unemployed, which means I'm staying up and watching so much football at 3 a.m. and stuff that I actually feel like I kind of know what's going on, but then the results prove completely otherwise. And hold on, you are. Why the fuck are you on Twitter while I'm talking here? Like, what kind of attention is it? Okay, yeah.
Wait, can you see my Twitter too?
I saw the edge of a screen, not anymore.
Oh, okay. Is it? No, I was just scrolling. I'm listening to you. I'm listening to you.
Okay. Uh, thank you. Anyway, so what are we talking about? Oh, teams. I think the biggest question right now is Liverpool and City still, because again, two of the best teams in the table, but with different kinds of fixtures, different form. And you see, even in our teams, those who've done well have been able to get those picks right, and those captaincies right after restart. When I was talking to Yuri, I think maybe a couple of weeks ago, and we were just wondering what Liverpool and City do. The biggest difference for me is that, yeah, both teams have nothing to play for. City want to keep up some match fitness, which is fine. But the big thing is that when Liverpool don't play their first 11, like when they make changes, their standard drops a lot. It drops significantly. City, it doesn't matter who they play. They are capable of 4 or 5 goals any game. Even the
Yep.
Southampton game where they lost is ridiculous because I think they had like over 3 xg, over 20 shots, 19
Yep.
shots in the box, stuff like that. Just insane stats. Whereas Liverpool versus Villa, they didn't have a single shot, I think, till in the first half, and then only after they Klopp swapped out the whole midfield and brought back Wijnaldum, etc., instead of Oxlade, Chamberlain, and Origi. Only after that they scored both of those goals too. So like it's such a huge difference between those two, so, which makes me go, okay, if you're banking on Liverpool, but on Liverpool, where the points will come from. Salah, Mane,
Yep.
TA, mainly. Whereas on City, predicting lineups is tough. And you're trying to make a game of it and seeing what will happen. So that's the most interesting one. And I think there's such a huge factor there because you can make a pick and do terrible one week, but that same pick on City can give you a huge score the next week. So from an edge to edge side, also it's just swings, which is making our table interesting.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned Liverpool and City. Another team that has been matching both these teams, both in form, the resolve and the way they've been attacking is Man U.
Yay!
And
Finally.
I know, finally, and having won what 4 games on the trot since restart, and also pretty convincingly, I have to say, all 4 games. The
Yeah.
introduction of Pogba has completely changed everything in the Man U attack, and that has a lot of implications on FPL too. Not just because you get to pick 3 Man U assets with this favorable run of fixtures of Villa, Southampton, Crystal Palace, West Ham, and Leicester, but also the introduction of cheap attackers who are performing. Now, if you look at the likes of Bruno Fernandes,
Mhm.
he's probably the best value pick in FPL period. He's on corners, he's on most set pieces. Possibly, I know Rashford ended up taking the last penalty, but I think it's Bruno's role, right?
Bruno's first choice on penalties. They've started rotating now for the second one.
Yeah, but still, I mean, he's in a squad like Manu, who's been free flowing, who has a good run of fixtures for 8.6 million. someone that scores a double-digit haul on a whim is the best value pick. Another person, Mason Greenwood, not sure he's going to keep up given his he's going to keep up the scoring returns given his low, like almost negligible XG compared to the actual goals. But the introduction of players at that price point of 8.5, at the price point of 4.5, who are performing like a Salah, a Sterling, or even a Kevin De Bruyne, are just introduces. I mean, it throws team value out of the picture, right? Someone like you, Shyam, who has a team value of over 105 million. Now that counts for almost nothing with the introduction of all these players. So Manu has been probably the biggest asset for most FPL managers in not just in our league but across the world. And I think if we were to guess, and I know we were talking about this earlier, like one of the reasons that KP did not perform well was because he owned zero Manu assets, whereas everyone in our league has at least one, or if not all three.
Yeah, I think I mean, for sure, Manu are kind of the obvious choice right now. I think almost everybody has Fernandez, and most people have at least two, if not three, Manu assets. So I don't think there's a lot to really talk about there. They seem like a very obvious pick right now. Only thing I'll say is that if the ones you have, you just hold on to them, because the points can come from any of those four
Yep.
main attackers any week. So
Yep.
there's no point. At least I don't think there's a lot of point in just swapping those around and trying to catch hauls. They like
And what about like you mentioned City? Now City also has I like you see, right? City has Newcastle,
yeah
Brighton, Bournemouth, Watford, and Norwich. Like all fixtures, which City would be expected to score minimum 3 to 4 goals, at least from an XG point of view.
yeah.
Which attackers would you consider from City, and is someone like Jesus or Phil Foden in your plans for the run-in?
I have, well, I don't want to spend too much time talking about my team, but generally I've got KDB, and I brought in Mahrez last week, and I will probably get Foden in at some point. So I'm going to go three City midfielders. They won't all start every week. I'm hoping two of them start or one of them start, but they're also explosive. I don't really mind owning them.
Yep.
The one thing to remember is that City do have uh, FA Cup. So the FA Cup fixtures, FA Cup semifinals are between 36 and 37.
Yep.
Okay, so that's going to be a key time to also see what rotation happens between those weeks. So people, and you have the four big team. Well, Arsenal's not a big team, but yeah, Arsenal, City, Chelsea, and Man U in those four. So you've got three of them who might rest players in 36 or 37. So that's just something to keep in mind during playoffs. Don't forget the FA Cup fixtures.
Yeah, the FA Cup would be interesting, and I think the 5 sub rule, which Yuri has written extensively about on his blog, which is not sponsoring this video, but will get a shout anyway. It's called GorillaFootball.com. I've guest authored. Not I haven't really guest authored. I've guest edited that 5 sub rule blog post. Go check it out. It has amazing news. But anyway, so we've already seen Pep Guardiola rotate his teams at halftime. We've seen him yank Sterling and Mahrez, both wingers, in that Southampton game at minute 59, which didn't even give them the full 2 points that we typically expect of any FPL asset. But like you said, with the FA Cup fixtures coming in, we should expect those substitutions, both in favor of our team and against our team. Every single City asset, Liverpool asset, or even for that matter, even Manu assets that we pick in our teams, even they're all capable of scoring or getting a haul in those games, even with 30 minutes on the pitch. And I think that's something to consider, as a lot of us, we still have our bench boosts still available when we play it, how we play it, which fixtures are they most likely to play them. So this is a good conversation, because like game week 36 and 37, most of us will either be in the playoffs or in the loser playoffs, except for I think the 8th and the ninth and the 10th spot members who have a bye that week. But it would probably be a terrible idea for one of us to play the bench boost in those weeks, because squads are going to be Man U, Arsenal,
Yeah, but
Liverpool.
you can't call the lineups in 38 either. So it's going to be a crapshoot. I
It's
mean,
going to be a crapshoot, but I'm just saying that it's probably a better idea, the more stable idea to play it in 38 rather than in 36, 37. There are many combinations. I'm sure we'll talk about it on our chats or in another video when the time's right. But I'm trying to say is that all assets that we own are probably going to be they're going to they're either going to get yanked off or they might just get 30 minutes, but they're still worthy assets because they come from teams with a high scoring pedigree.
yep.
A couple of surprises for me, and this is out of the left field, but I played my wild card yesterday, so I've been researching a couple of teams in detail. One big conundrum I had was, should I include Wolves attack? And I chose against the popular pick of getting Jimenez in, and partly the reason was since Project Restart, Jimenez's chances have dropped off a little. He's been playing on the wing a little more when Traore hasn't been on the pitch, and Wolves in general haven't created a lot of chances, and you would expect them to create a lot of chances against shambolic defenses like Arsenal, who had Kolasinac, Mustafi, and Luiz as the center three, and they tormented. Like Traore was all over every single Arsenal defender in that match, but still, like, Jimenez wasn't getting the box. He wasn't getting enough chances, and I think it's a slight change in formation from Nuno Espirito Sanchez that has caused him to play more on the wing, not get into the box as much. He's only had 12 big chances compared to 12 big chances in 5 games compared to an average of almost 3 big chances per game prior to the restart. So that put me
Yeah,
off
but
Wolves a little bit.
he's had 3 goals in 4 or 2 goals in 4, right?
Right, but the underlying stats for those goals, like if you consider both those goals, they came from amazing crosses from Traore, both almost in similar positions. So he's not getting into as many attacking positions. Sure, he did take a couple of chances that came his way, but in a striker that you want to pick long term, you want to make sure that they are getting into these attacking positions so that more chances of returns.
Yeah, I mean the thing with forwards, and I know we're going into position, is like with forwards, like who do you pick anyway? Like I've watched games, and like 4 teams I can say have been horrible is Everton, Spurs, Leicester, and Wolves attack wise. And those are the 4 teams where we've had forwards you could rely on generally, or at least attackers you could rely on. But all 4 of them are just they're awful to watch right now. Will it improve? Maybe when fixtures improve, but all 4 of them have just been terrible to watch. So where do you go for
So
forwards?
I think that's a good question. I see Danny Ings. Obviously, he has something to play for. He has a golden boot. He has form
Yeah.
in his way.
In the playoffs, yes, but right now, like he's got Everton, and
He's got horrible fixtures.
yeah, and just
The
two.
one person I know, and you like the striker, so do I. I've highlighted Tottenham over here. Tottenham has Bournemouth,
Yeah.
Arsenal. Arsenal's pretty much the whipping boys of Tottenham in the last few seasons, especially for Harry Kane. Newcastle, Leicester, and Crystal Palace, all very scoreable fixtures. Yeah, I mean, we obviously don't have a lot of strikers that we can pick from right now. Is Kane a good option, a good captaincy pick for everyone that's trying to win 34 and 35?
You know who their manager is?
I didn't watch the game last night. Was Kane going into good attacking
Yeah.
positions?
No, he was defensive midfielder again, and I have Son, and I don't know why, and I'm going to keep him for Bournemouth because it's Bournemouth.
Right.
So they might just be, but Spurs are so bad. I know Kane scored a couple of goals, and they talked about he's getting big chances, but you watch the game, every attack just goes to Kane to die. Like he misplaces the pass, and he's huffing and puffing and sprinting. He's better than he has been in early part of the season, but paying 11 million for a guy you can't reliably captain either, I mean, for next week, he might be a rogue pick because Bournemouth are really bad. But look at those last three games: Newcastle, Leicester, Palace. None of them. Arsenal are also better defensively these days. So I don't know. I wouldn't be touching Kane. I would be looking to sell Son myself if I can find enough transfers to do it, to be honest. I might stick with him because Son still has the capability of doing something from nothing, but they are not the force that they used to be.
And a couple of teams who have strikers worth mentioning. Everton, obviously, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's been kind of a revelation this season. Comes at a very cheap price point. Also gets in most attacking positions along with Richarlison at Everton. And
Yeah.
so does Rashford for Man U and Jesus for Man City. Any worthy picks out of these three?
Everton, I really like DCL till Calvert-Lewin till the restart, but after the restart, they've not been creating anything. Like you watch their games, even yesterday, I don't remember how many shots he had yesterday, and he had some shots before that, but I don't see the creativity in that team at all. But I think after Southampton and Wolves, like Aston Villa and Bournemouth, those teams are just so bad that he might return back to form there. I think Richarlison's probably a better, riskier pick. But I think like if you look at Nikhil, he's got Richarlison and Calvert-Lewin, or he had them at least, and that's what's hurting as well. The United, obviously Rashford, Greenwood, pick whoever, stick with whoever. It'll be week by week. Man City, I don't know, man. I watched that Southampton game again, and Jesus is just so bad at finishing. He's been, and I looked at stats after that, and apparently he's been underperforming his XG for several seasons. So, like this
Okay.
season, he's -6 something, -6 below his XG, and he's been around that range for several seasons. So, you really have to just wonder whether is is it just that any person in City will get enough shots and goals when playing there, but Jesus is so bad that even he will get something. Of course, he's going to score some goals and get that, but he's not Aguero, and he's nowhere near that. You can't rely on him like that for captaincy and stuff, which means Pep is not going to rely on him
Yep.
for that. And so, like, I wonder whether Pep even has him in his Champions League plans, or will he go with a Gundogan, Sterling false nine, or something like that? Because now
He
Fernandinho
played
can
a,
play in midfield. That's a huge difference.
and like going back to Pep's plans for the Champions League, I mean, he did play Jesus in that final, very famously keeping Aguero on the bench
Yeah.
against Real Madrid, and the plan worked out wonders for him, right?
So
But I
he's a
think
good player, but I'm saying as an FPL asset, the thing is whether he's a good player because of his movement and he brings all the others into play better
right.
than Oli Aguero does. But him as an FPL asset because of his finishing, I don't know.
And I just pulled up the stats table for all attacking minded players. This is since Project Restart, sorted by shots inside the box. You see Jesus. Obviously, he's up there with Hauser from Aston Villa and Aubameyang and Giroud. But just look at the conversions.
Yeah.
The shots inside the box versus shots on target. You have the likes of Aubameyang, who's terrible at finishing for his standards. He has had 10 shots on target. Jesus has had only 4 out of his 11 on target. And for a team like City, it's inexcusable not to have a shot on target.
Yeah, and I mean I think he might still, like, because every week things are changing, he might still be a really good pick for some weeks if you can call the lineups right and the opponents right. Like if he does not play FA Cup, for example, then he's got whoever next. Like those kind of calls. If you want to make risky calls, you can, and I imagine that some of us might do that. But yeah, I'm not going to rely on him. I'm just backing with City midfielders. And
And also interestingly, I saw at the table by XG and open play, we talked about Harry Kane. Harry Kane's top of that list with 2.48 XG, almost twice as much as Aubameyang. So and they're both similarly priced. I might go against your advice, Sham, and it's a move that I'm considering.
I think you should. That's what that the message I sent you that day also. It's like don't watch Spurs because then you won't want to own them. If you don't
Yep.
watch Spurs, then you at least think that they are getting points, like which is the right FPL way to think. Why does it
Yep.
matter how they play as long as they get points? But I get so frustrated watching them play that I'm like, I cannot buy this guy.
I think the stat that really interested me was shots inside the box six. Sure, Spurs do not get a lot of chances, but out of the six shots inside the box, if he's getting an XG of 2.48, he's only going to convert more and more in the upcoming weeks. And given his fixtures, I fully expect Kane to score. Now, whether it's worth the 11 million pounds, I don't think so. But as a punt for 2 weeks, it's I
I
think
think
it's this.
for this week, yeah, against Bournemouth, if you really want a differential, he's probably one to go for. But yeah, anyway, I'm not going to be touching Spurs.
So we mentioned Bournemouth. Bournemouth are like very obviously the whipping boys of the league right now.
Yeah.
Another thing that we should probably mention is another team that we should probably mention are Sheffield United, because when I was researching for my wildcard players that I should bring in based on their fixtures against Bournemouth, I also came across Sheffield United, who have conceded on average 2.5 big chances per game. Bournemouth, on
Yeah.
the other, on have conceded 2.6. Now, Sheffield United defense has been completely knackered. They don't have Lundstrom, they don't have Fleck,
Well,
and
but
they're
Lundstrom and Fleck are not defend. I mean, I've seen those stats, and I don't know. I think they'll be fine. Like they'll come back to fine. The big chances which they conceded, one is against United when they did not have Henderson, and then they've had O'Connell injured for 2 games and Egan
yep.
sent off in 1 game. So when you look at the games since the restart, they've not had their full defense at all in those games. Now O'Connell was on the bench this week already, so I'm pretty sure he'll start. So I think they'll be fine. I don't buy into the whole Sheffield are all of a sudden really bad thing. Yeah,
No,
they're
I'm not. I'm not at all saying that they're really bad. I'm saying that they are more prone to injuries, and given their squad,
yeah.
and they don't have a full squad to for the run in, and their fixtures are quite terrible if you look at it, like Wolves, Chelsea, Leicester, Everton.
Yeah.
And we talked about strikers from all these three teams. Leicester, you have Vardy. Vardy just came into form in the last game week. He actually played really
So
well.
lucky. So lucky. Though both those
The
goals.
first the first goal was really lucky, but he was like, I mean, for players like Vardy who lurk around the every defender, who press every defender. I mean, if there's any player that deserves to get lucky, it's probably him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I got lucky. I'm not complaining about that. But again, he's not like I'll be looking to sell Vardy soon too. Probably.
Yeah. Any other shout outs? I think the one team that has kind of transformed, not since Project Restart, but over the last 3 weeks, has been Arsenal. Defensively, it's looked more solid. Keeping a clean sheet versus Wolves was a testament to the hammering that they must have received from Arteta after those defeats versus Brighton and Man City, of course. But uh, Arsenal has been playing extremely well. They performed well in the FA Cup against Sheffield too. So defensively, they also have very cheap options. You have the likes of obviously Martinez as a goalkeeper who's almost nailed on given Leno's injury. You could potentially go in for the likes of either Tierney, who has good attacking potential with Saka in the team, and the likes of Holding, who might feature in 1 or 2 games here or there. All
Yeah.
of them are in the 4.5 price range.
I think it would be gambling, and I mean you could, but like look at those fixtures: Leicester, Spurs, Liverpool, FA Cup. I think the last two, Aston Villa, Watford, are interesting. But like there are so many defender choices. I don't know if I would really want to go Arsenal at all. I think Martinez is fine, like for a bench booster, stuff like that. Like I don't have a second keeper, so I might need to get one at some point. So may go there.
I personally am staying away from Arsenal assets until game week 37. I have Martinez
Oh,
and
that's why you're
Nketiah.
over. That's why you're trying to get other people to buy them for these 2 weeks. Okay.
I, I was just
Yes,
calling out teams that have been
by
performing well.
Arsenal. I think Mustafi is going to score braces in the next two.
Hey, when you get to control the video, you get to push your own propaganda
Right.
and push people towards a decision, especially when you have your own when
Yeah,
you
you
have a
have
lot to lose yourself.
right.
But yeah, I agree. I think 37 and 38 that would be a no-brainer. Already looking to get Aubameyang in for those fixtures because I think he should still be in the running for a golden boot at that point if Vardy and Salah don't and Ings obviously don't run away with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's going to be an exciting end to the season. Sham, any other teams or any other players that you're considering and others should also consider?
I don't know, man. All the picks seem like right now, and maybe it's just because I'm watching too much football, and that's why getting even more disillusioned by watching some of the teams play. But they score FPL points, which is strange. I don't know. I don't think any teams, whatever you pick, just hope you get lucky.
I
I'm
think we've covered.
more interested in our league than the real Premier.
Same here. Same here. I think I mentioned this to you earlier, but selfish interests aside, I'm really curious to see how the playoff picture turns out. And you're right, it's probably just between Phil and Marco, but I'm going to add Yuri and possibly Biggie even into the mixture because they have a chance. I'm very excited for the next 2 weeks. More interested about how people play their strategies, play their chips, because it goes to show this is all. I mean, this is a game of chess, right? In the end, you pick your battles and you play your strategies accordingly. So I'm kind of curious to see. It might. I can based on how this entire group has played together for the last 5 or 6 years, you can pretty much guess how everyone's going to play. Like everyone probably knows that I don't take chances. I'll probably just play it safe and screw it up at the end, like you said, Sham. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to someone just throwing us off our feet and playing a free hit when they didn't really have to.
Yeah, that was fun to watch. Yuri playing his triple captain against Nikhil.
Against
Ultimately didn't matter, but it was such a like very
Yep,
surprising.
yep. He
Yeah, so
kind of wasted.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping to see more surprises like that. I think I'm definitely excited for it. I don't think a lot of people are that excited. Fine, I'm just going to sit and enjoy and keep.
So there.
Many teams I went through today. Oh, I was wondering like, oh, he's got a good team. His team I don't really understand, and yeah, just spending time.
And actually, I'll mention. I do think that Bobby has been very unlucky this season. He's had good picks, but they've been overshadowed by picks that are bad. For example, Bobby has stuck with Kane. Kane did perform, but because he got Kane, he wasn't able to get the other picks like Bruno. He wasn't able to get other picks like Kevin De Bruyne in his team. Even now, he has the likes of Vardy, which is why I'm extremely scared. Like I'm never getting Vardy in for my next game week. So given that I'm battling Bobby in this in the next game week, I have even if I want to play a chip, unless I fully copy his team, I don't think I'm going to outclass him with because he's a complete wild card. He has so many people that can perform. So it's going to be everyone. We're going to have to look at our fixtures, our opponents' teams, second guess them, and then play accordingly.
Yeah, and then they'll do something completely random which scores points, which
Yep.
is the fun.
Yep.
So put in all your effort and then just watch it being stolen away from you. That poor Nikhil. I feel sad for him and kind of so funny right now.
And actually, even Alhad too. He was Alhad had a good season so far. It'd be a shame if he didn't come out of it with nothing.
Well, many people come out of it with nothing every year. It's fine.
So maybe that's my destiny. But anyway, Sham. So we are 7 hours away, pretty much 7 hours away from the deadline, and this has been
Yeah.
a 1 hour long recording. We want to give folks time to watch, listen, We didn't hide any Easter eggs this time.
The whole video is in Easter egg, so it's fine.
Fair. Hidden insights, hidden permutations, what each team needs to do. But
Wait,
either way, it was a fun.
before you end, what's your prediction? So who's going to win edge to edge?
So I won't lie. I think I have to say that I have a pretty good chance of winning
No.
H2H at this point. If my picks play well against Bobby's picks, I think Gaurang is more predictable than Bobby. So I'm less concerned about my match against Gaurang. So I will let you know after I see Bobby's picks or after tonight's matches. I'll let you know. But I think I have a fairly good chance. Outside of that, I'm actually backing KP because his team is more diverse compared to Raghav's. Raghav has a lot of value stuck in Manu and one loss for Manu in that game week that both of them play each other. I think that could be KP's trump. So yeah, so I think obviously like chance wise, I shouldn't discount myself. Secondly, I think it's KP who would probably ace Raghav if it came down to that. What do you think?
I I Nikhil plays so many mind games. It's impossible to say what he's really thinking now. I don't think it's so much about teams. I think it's about who wants it more. Like you guys have the chips to make the results happen if you really want.
I
Um,
mean, I'm
I
pulling
think,
up.
but
I'm
I
pulling
think
up.
it's entirely possible that Nikhil all of a sudden decides that fuck H2H, he's going to go for the playoff trophy instead, which me and I think you will figure out a way to screw up somehow in one of the games, and Raga will win it. win it. But if I
So
had to
I,
bet money, I'd be betting money on Raga right now. As much as I don't want to, I want one of you or Nikhil to win it. But yeah.
oh, let's see if Raghav listens to this and responds. That's his Easter egg right there. No, but like I mentioned, right? I mean, I'm pretty certain that Raghav's going to captain Fernandez for the remainder of the season. There's no
What?
way he's going to captain KDB or Son. Both are pretty unpredictable starting wise, and Son obviously from an attacking return. Whereas KP, I mean, he just needs one game week where Manu don't score, and he's through. Both
But he might
on a
just play a free hit and bring man new players in for Aston Villa. Like if he wanted to, I'm saying he could easily just play his free hit, bring three man new players in for this game week, smash the week, and then next week he has Spurs against, or like this week he has Spurs against Bournemouth, but next week.
Bournemouth, right?
So yeah, like using your chips, you can change your entire team around right now.
It will be, and which is why I don't think it's a good idea for him to use his chips this game week. But we'll wait and watch. It's going to be exciting. We haven't actually spoken a lot about Harshad, who is leading on purity. Probably the most unluckiest team in
Definitely.
the league from an H2S standpoint. He's had a mammoth of a season. I think he's ranked in the somewhere in the top 30,000 worldwide. Maybe we should do a spotlight on him next time. He's used up two of his chips, but he is in pole position.
Yeah, I think he's going to win purity. I'm just like watching the way he's been playing. He's definitely got a good lead back now into the team, and I I am very scared that he'll actually throw me out of playoffs as well tonight. So let's see what happens.
Exciting couple of weeks, Sham. I think we should continue this chat on our WhatsApp group. I think it's like game week 30 onwards is probably the most engaging time uh, from an FPL perspective, and I'm excited that it's going down to the wire.
Yeah, and in a season where like everything's up for grabs, like usually by now a lot of things are decided. People are just
Yep,
waiting to take hits and get ready for playoffs, whereas
yep.
now you can't really do that. So cool, good stuff,
Exciting
Vikas.
times, man. Yeah, very good stuff, man. Good catching up. Regardless, I mean, I know it's probably going to be us rewatching the videos and getting those counts in, but regardless, it's always a fun
Oh,
chat.
hello to Vikas's mom and dad. Thank you for watching.
Now that I'm at home with them, they actually may not they may not need to watch this video. So there you go. We lost a couple of viewers right there.
Hello,
All
Marco.
right.
Hello, Marco. I trust Marco also to watch always.
Marco does give it a listen all the time. All right.
Alright. Well,
Sham, enjoy the beautiful weather outside. It's raining here in Pune. Love the weather. Love watching PL at prime time.
normal hours. Yeah.
Normal hours, I know. All right. See you,
Cool.
man.
Stop recording now.
And send me the recording. We are going to upload it.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.